Life has a peculiar way of unfolding. When I wed David 2 years ago, I didn't just marry a man, I became part of a family, one that included his 19-year-old son, Ethan. At that time, I didn't fully understand the complexities and challenges these relationships would present. I believed I could bring warmth and care into their lives, especially Ethan's, since he had lost his mother when he was only 12. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so I can continue sharing more captivating true stories like this one. And don't forget to watch this video until the end, because this story is about to become incredibly engaging. Let me begin at the start. My name is Lena. I'm 36 years old, an interior designer by profession, and someone who had spent most of her adult life focused on her career. Meeting David was an unexpected delight. He was charismatic, dependable, and had a way of making me feel secure. Our connection developed quickly, and before I knew it, I was living in his beautiful home, a space filled with memories of his late wife and the life they had built. Then there was Ethan. At first glance, he seemed like your average teenager, quiet, reserved, and constantly attached to his phone or game console. But as I got to know him better, I realized there was much more beneath the surface. He had a sharp sense of humor, a disarming smile, and a depth of emotion he rarely revealed. Our relationship began awkwardly, as most step-parent-stepchild connections do. He kept his distance, and I respected that. Slowly, through shared meals and casual conversations, we began to find common ground. Sometimes he'd join me in the kitchen while I prepared dinner, or we'd sit together in the living room, silently watching TV but feeling comfortable in each other's presence. David, being a busy executive, was often away on business, leaving Ethan and me to share the house. At first, it was strange. I worried about overstepping boundaries or making too much of an effort to connect, but eventually, it began to feel natural. We became friends in our own quiet way. One lazy Saturday afternoon, David went out to run errands, leaving Ethan and me alone at home. I was about to sit down to watch a show when I realized my bracelet had become stuck between the cushions of the couch. Frustrated, I reached into the crack to retrieve it, but my hand became wedged tightly. "Not again," I muttered, tugging unsuccessfully. The more I tried to free my hand, the more stuck it became. "I need help," I called out, a hint of embarrassment creeping into my voice. A moment later, Ethan appeared in the doorway, looking a little confused. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My hand is stuck in the couch," I said with a sigh, laughing at my own misfortune. His face softened into a smile as he knelt down beside me. "Let me help," he said. His hand brushed against mine as he reached for my wrist, and I felt a strange flutter in my chest. There was something about the way he touched me, so gentle, so thoughtful, that made my breath catch. Ethan's fingers carefully worked to free my hand, but the way his touch lingered against my skin made it difficult for me to focus on anything else. My pulse quickened, and I felt a warmth spread through me, almost as if his touch was sending electricity through my body. Once my hand was free, Ethan didn't immediately pull away. His eyes met mine, and I noticed something there I hadn't seen before, something deeper, more intense. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. "I should probably get back to my room," Ethan said. His voice strained. He stood up quickly, taking a step back, but I wasn't ready for the moment to end. "Wait," I whispered. He paused and turned to face me, his eyes still filled with that unspoken emotion. My heart raced. "What is it?" Ethan asked softly. I couldn't stop myself. Slowly, I reached out and touched his arm, a gentle, hesitant gesture that seemed to speak volumes. He looked down at my hand, then back into my eyes. Neither of us moved, but the space between us felt charged with something more than just friendship. "I've been feeling something, Ethan," I confessed, my voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what it is, but it's there. Between us." He didn't say anything at first, but his gaze softened. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming and comforting all at once. "I feel it too," he whispered. Before I could respond, his lips were on mine. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if we were both unsure of what it meant. But as his lips moved against mine, my hesitation melted away, replaced by an intense desire I could no longer ignore. Ethan's hand slid to my back, pulling me closer, and I could feel the warmth of his body against mine. The kiss deepened, becoming more passionate as his lips parted mine, and our tongues met in a slow, teasing dance. Every part of me was alive in that moment. My body responded to him in ways I couldn't explain. My hand slid up to his chest, feeling the strength of his muscles beneath the soft fabric of his shirt. I wanted more. I wanted to feel every inch of him, but I pulled back, breathless, my heart pounding in my chest. "We can't do this," I murmured, my forehead resting against his. It's wrong." But Ethan's hands were on my waist, his grip firm yet gentle. "I don't care," he said, his voice low and filled with desire. "I need this. I need you." The next few days were a blur of stolen glances, lingering touches, and unspoken words. We couldn't stay away from each other. Every time I saw Ethan, my heart raced. Every touch sent shivers through me. He would help me in the kitchen, brushing past me, his hand lightly grazing mine, and I would feel the heat building inside me. A fire I didn't know how to extinguish. One afternoon, Ethan sat beside me on the couch, closer than usual. He didn't say anything at first, just sat there, his eyes fixed on the TV. But I turned toward him. "Ethan," I murmured, my breath hitching in my throat, "what are we doing?" "I don't know," he replied, his voice a soft whisper, "but I can't stop thinking about you." Before I could find the words to respond, his hand moved to my thigh, his touch sending a wave of heat coursing through me. He leaned in, and this time, I didn't resist. I welcomed his kiss, this one more fervent, more urgent than before. His lips pressed against mine with an intensity that demanded a response, and I met him with equal passion. His hand cupped my cheek, his thumb gently brushing my skin as he deepened the kiss. I felt his body close to mine, the solidness of his chest against my softer form. The need for him was undeniable, and I could no longer suppress it. We ended up in my bedroom, our bodies entwined in a whirlwind of desire. Ethan's hands were everywhere, exploring, awakening sensations I'd never felt before. His kisses grew deeper, his lips trailing down my neck as I gasped for air. Each touch sent shivers through me, and every kiss ignited an undeniable fire within. "I want you, Lena," he whispered, his voice husky with longing. "I can't stop." At that moment, I stopped worrying about right or wrong. I wanted him as much as he wanted me. Our bodies moved in perfect synchrony, each touch and kiss a testament to the connection we could no longer ignore. After that night, things grew complicated. Ethan and I had shared something deeply intimate, yet we both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The guilt weighed heavily on us, and neither of us could fully process what had happened. I tried to distance myself, avoiding his gaze and keeping conversations brief. But every time I saw him, my heart raced, and the tension returned. Ethan struggled too, and it was clear we couldn't go back to the way things were. Doubts crept in, and I found myself questioning my choices, my emotions, and what the future held for us. Could we truly be together? Was it wrong? One evening, while we sat in the living room, Ethan finally spoke. "Lena, I need to talk to you," he said, his tone filled with resolve. I turned to him, my chest tightening. "What is it?" "I can't keep pretending," he admitted, his voice barely audible. "I feel something for you. Something real, and I don't know what to do about it." My heart pounded in my chest as I nodded. "I feel the same, Ethan, but we can't ignore the reality. What about David? What about everything we've built?" Ethan stood and moved to the window, his back to me. "I know," he said quietly. "I've thought about it all, but every time I see you, I can't deny how I feel. It's like I'm torn between two worlds." I approached him, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "I don't have the answers either, Ethan, but whatever this is, we have to face it together." The days that followed were filled with deep conversations, doubts, and revelations. Ethan and I spent time navigating the depth of our feelings, weighing the consequences of what we had shared. We knew we couldn't continue this way without making a significant decision. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, we sat in the kitchen. "We can't keep living like this," Ethan said, his voice steady yet brimming with emotion. "I want to be with you, Lena, but without the guilt and fear." I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "We have to be honest with David. It's the only way forward." Ethan nodded, his expression firm. "I'll talk to him, but I need to know you'll stand by me, no matter what happens." And so, after much deliberation, we decided to tell David the truth. One evening, we sat him down and confessed everything: the attraction, the confusion, the bond we had tried to resist. It was one of the most painful moments of my life. David's reaction, however, was unexpected. Instead of anger, he met us with quiet understanding, though his sadness was evident. I don't understand it, he admitted softly, but I can see how much you mean to each other. I just want you both to find happiness. That moment marked a turning point. We had faced the truth, and somehow we emerged stronger. Months passed, and though it wasn't always easy, Ethan and I built a life together, one day at a time. David remained in our lives, though our relationship had evolved. He was still a friend, still part of our extended family. Ethan and I nurtured our love, knowing it was worth every struggle. As I reflect on everything we've been through, I realize love is rarely simple. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. But when you find the right person, when the connection is undeniable, it's worth every challenge. Ethan and I have made peace with our past.